people are not, private sectors are not willing to buy, and marketers are not willing to buy from Dangote, and hence they want to buy from them. Dangote refineries are also saying that if Nigerians are not going to buy their fuel, their PMS, they're going to export. What's really going on with the price hike, aside the removal of subsidy that started this issue where we are at now from Tuesday up until now? What exactly has happened?
Well, thank you very much. I would rather say it's a bad omen to us as a nation, as a people. Why? Because we do not have the interest, so to say. Majority of Nigerians don't have the interest of Nigeria at heart. Why did I say that? Before an individual aspires or is placed in public position, the general interest must be must be the paramount drive of that individual. But in our case, that is not it. We have people who have antecedents of selfish interest exhibited in the past. They are the same people that in one way or the other wangle themselves to be in public position. And that is why we are experiencing this kind of scenario. It's not a bad prediction or about a prophet of doom. But believe you me, Dangote's refinery is not going to do anything to solve or ameliorate the Nigerian fuel situation. Maybe taken aback, there was never subsidy. There was never subsidy. All those fuel subsidy were all scam, were all falsehood, as it has come to the glaring of the public. In the actual sense, government is ought to subsidize in various sectors, in areas that concerns the people, their well-being, their welfare, and their upliftment. Government in all climes do subsidize. But in Nigerian case, subsidy is used or was used in the fuel situation, was used as a scam for some few group of people to rob off the resources, the common good of Nigerians. There was never subsidy because the facts that came out are glaring. Now, this government came into existence and said, look, I removed subsidy. Some said it has been a scam, this and that. Removing the subsidy, ideally, the government is supposed to take measures to make sure that the refining bodies of the crude that is gotten from the soil is put in place. The decision to even say remove subsidy after assuming power was wrongly taken because things have not been put in place. The refining industries have not, that are not working. They've not been put in place. a leader supposedly that's supposed to have the interest, the general interest of the masses, just coming out to say, I remove subsidy. There is no more subsidy. Of course, hardship was a result of what we experienced. The same individuals that are supposed to walk around, because I started by saying an individual that occupy public positions, whether at the federal, state, or local, is supposed to have the general interest, not the selfish parochial interest. Now, those individuals are now the same fighting an individual. Of course, the Dangote refinery is a private effort.
Yeah.
Private effort, the main purpose of private effort is to maximize profit. But looking at it from our situation now, what is internal might be a little bit different from what is external. An industry that is cited internally in refining what will be gotten internally, the cost will be reduced than that which will be taken out, refined, and brought back. Is supposed to be. Now we can see what is playing out in the news about not allowing him to get the crude in the first instance, that then at another instance for him not selling directly, selling through the same institution that has been polluted, that is working not in the interest of the masses, the majority, but at the interest of, just a few, enriching the few at the expense of the masses. Of course. Now, the fuel that is being refined by that private effort is also being denied entering into the market. Now you can see what is at play here.
Yeah.
The parochial interest of impoverishing. Poverty is used as a tool by those in government. I will say it here without any reservation. The Nigerian ruling class is out to impoverish. In fact, the middle class that is a little bit, maybe calling to question their activities, they are at it to impoverish it, to reduce it to the level at which even that middle class will not have, a say.
Sure.
But rather bow to their whims and caprice. So, it's unfortunate that we are experiencing what we are experiencing. I could see in some newspapers, some individuals comparing, Nigeria with some other countries.
Yeah.
Fuel that is sold in so country, how much is it, and all that. They forget the weight of our currency. They forget the productivity of those countries, than our own. They forget the government making things to work in such country than our own. For instance, if government should increase price of petrol, government should have been able to put the transport system in place.
Sure.
They train the buses to move people from one point to the other. Coming to this studio now, I was tempted to, to stop and give some people lift, but I couldn't because of the time. You see people stranded going to the office. You see people scamping for one form of transportation or the other. You see people queuing to even buy fuel, at the rate of 1,200. I was going to work on Wednesday. I couldn't get there. I got to Ugeli. My fuel was, gone, showing danger. I had to queue. I queued for hours, to buy fuel at 1,200. I couldn't. Before it got to them selling for me, the fuel, is gone.
Stop selling.
I had to manage it. It got to one place. I got to one place. They were selling at 1,500. I did not have the option because I can't carry that car on my head.
Yeah.
I had to buy, cough out 20,000 naira that couldn't get me,
Liters.
and I had to manage the car back home. Now, that working hour, what I'm supposed to do in the office, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Leaving Warri to Asaba, my capital, where I work, I couldn't go because there was no fuel. You can imagine the country here, we are not sourcing this fuel from outside. This is what God has given to us, and we are relying on it. The people are supposed to benefit from it. In fact, Nigerians, we are too docile. We are too docile. We are too docile. If not, I wonder how people still go to office. I wonder how things still work. Because they feel that one we used to take oneself to the office is not there.
Yeah.
The transportation, even the way it is now, the transportation is not even there. Look at our roads, it's dry. So the situation is pathetic. It's a pity to our leadership. Pathetic. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso of a leader that is committed, even though one want to say it's a military junta.
Yeah.
That is what should be a leader that is committed to the people, to society, to liquidating, to bringing the people out of, want, poverty, out of suffering. Now, we are talking about insecurity, and things like this is, happening again. We will experience a skyrocketing, insecurity situation. If the government resort to killing, you will kill vast, vibrant, majority of your population. Then you'll be left with, who are you going to govern? Are you getting me?
Yeah.
So killing is not the solution. Or maybe rounding up people, putting them in one place you call reformation, center or whatever. It's not the solution. Fix things. Let things work. Set the agendas. Let the people be engaged. Get the best out of the people with the God-given resources. Don't use such, to the detriment. I do not yet believe that Nigeria is world poor. the problem we have is leadership. The problem we have is leadership. A country that is poor will not go and buy SUVs for its lawmakers at the rate of 160 million per one. A country that is poor will not be paying, 14 point something, 25 point something million, to lawmaking members. We are talking about lawmaking because the emphasis is on lawmaking, because lawmaking makes a society to be democratic. They are supposed to check the excesses of the executives. They are supposed to put the executive on toe to make things to work. Of course, there is much more abuse at the executive cadre, that even is not to the information or the glaring of the public. You understand me? The legislators are to check the executives. That is not happening. What are we seeing now? Before you know it, even maybe labor coming out or students coming out to demonstrate and all that, before you know, they will bring the state coercive apparatus. You understand me? To quell, to kill. Are you getting me? And people will withdraw into their shell. They will resort to self-help. And the self-help, some of it, the fallout is, kidnapping. The fallout is maybe robbery. The fallout is, venting angers, negatively. Are you getting me? Instead of bringing our leaders to account, bringing them to account for the resources that they have placed in charge of, that is supposed to be, to the benefit of the masses. So what I'm saying here, the impact is glaring. Things are not working. The economy is in a standstill. There is no productivity. Students resuming is unfortunate. Sensitive leadership should have said, no, students should not resume now.
For now.
Let's hold on. Sensitive leadership should have said, no, let us not resume now, because the hardship is much. Let's try to, ameliorate. Let's try to put this in place. What stops the governor? What stops the president from buying buses, moving from one point to the other? What stops them from doing that? Of course, the concern is not the people. The concern is themselves. The concern is how can they be able to loot whatever or use whatever gimmicks, either contract inflation or whatever they want to, they are doing, to line their pockets, to line their bank account, to buy. You see, majority of them now is buying properties from the middle class, buying properties from the indigents, buying properties, lining up, amassing wealth, that I wonder the life they will live to enjoy this wealth. Are you getting it? So the impact is much, and we cannot exhaust them. Are you getting me? But the truth be told, that Nigerians are suffering.
Thank you so much, Professor Romare Gake, has opened up for us and is highlighted and touched. That was more of an introduction. It's basically talked about what the Nigerian population are facing, are feeling at this particular time. Apparently, it's glaring to see that the government of the day are not doing as much as they should do in making life bearable for Nigerians. And Professor Romare Gake has already said that he doesn't believe that we are poor in Nigeria. He clearly believes that the right policies have not been put in place yet to make things a bit easy. Now let's talk about comparing countries. I know a friend in the UK had mentioned that, the way we don't have fuel here, or it's the same way fuel is costly there. But then I'm sure that there's some sort of difference with fuel price hike in Nigeria, a developed, I don't know if we're even developed, I don't know if we are developing, but then let's talk about the difference, how fuel price hikes in Nigeria compares with those in other developing countries. What lessons can be learned, and let's talk the differences in the impact of fuel prices between developed and developing economies.
Now, in developed economy, if you have situation like this, such as increase or hike in fuel or the resources, natural resources that the nation depends on, what they do is take measures. For instance, in UK, in America, there are proper laid out transport system that you do not even need to buy fuel. Not to source for these, source for these things that will result to hardship.
Yeah.
You have proper transport system. You have rail. You have buses. You understand? There are things that the government have put in place. Not in our own situation. Our own, the government has not done anything, but wants to compare themselves with those countries, which is wrong. Wrong. You can't, because you can't increase fuel when you've not, for instance, fuel determines the prices of goods and services.
Yeah.
Immediately the fuel is increased, the prices goes up in the market. But if proper measures, is taken, for instance, in the movement of the people from point A to point B, if those things are put in place, the prices of commodities will not skyrocket. When such policies are introduced in developed society, it does not affect prices. Why? Because government puts in place measures to curb such increase. But that is not so in our own case. Government introduces its policies. It brings about hardship. It brings about impoverishing. That is why I come to the conclusion that government is using the weapon of poverty to manipulate and control the Nigerian masses. Yeah. Weaponizing poverty. We had the middle class before. Now we don't have middle class again. We only have the ruling class, which are the bourgeoisie or the bourgeois of society, and there is no other class again but the lower one. Because everybody is scavenging, looking for means of, how to eat, how to take the daily. Everybody is like that. Even as a professor in Nigeria now, our salary is rubbish. Professor is supposed to be equated to the general in the army. It's supposed to be, because he's a peak of that, career. But in our country, the way it is now, my 400,000 naira cannot take my family in 2 weeks. Cannot take my family in 2 weeks. I'm saying 400,000 naira because that is not the basic, of course, with housing, whatever that has been included. It cannot take my family in 2 weeks. And you expect me to work for 4 weeks before you give me that 400,000. So how do I survive? How do I survive? So these things are, the government is supposed to look at these things before coming out with, such policies. Actually, the real truth of it, if I'm receiving $400,000 in US, I am not a small man.
Sure.
I'm not a small man. I will live a luxurious life. 400 as amount is huge. 400,000 is huge. But in our own society, how much is it? If I'm going to work now, someone will say, okay, go and stay in Asaba. Are you getting me? Is that the solution?
No.
That's not the solution. Because me living in Warri and going to Asaba, between Warri and Asaba, is even a small distance. Very, very small distance to cover. If there are trains, for instance, if there are buses, for instance, it's just the question of preparing myself to catch the bus, to go to work, and even come back. They do that in developed countries. People travel distance to work. You understand me? They travel distance. The government have put things in place. That is why it is working. That is why, even though those policies of taxing, getting from the people, the masses, does not affect them negatively. Even at that, there is still protest in such society against, taking too much from the public, taking too much from the people. So the government in Nigeria, they just copy wrongly and do things wrongly. We should stop comparing ourselves with developed society. We have the resources, but we are not developed. We have the financial, human, material resources that potentially we are rich, but experientially we are poor. That is the truth. Thank you.
All right, now let's talk about sector-specific effect of the impact of fuel price hike on the economy. And Professor Romarigake, how does the fuel prices now affect industries? We're talking agriculture, manufacturing, transportation. What are the potential ripple effects on related industries and supply chain vis-a-vis the fuel price hike we're experiencing currently?
You see, if we have to look at the impact of fuel price hike on these various sectors you have just mentioned, you see, we cannot exhaust it here within, this short period of time. And we need to bring in experts. Are you getting me? I'm not a professor of oil.
Right.
You understand? I profess within my area. You understand? If it is the impact on the masses, I will tell you. The impact on transportation, I just have, a little of it.
On it.
The impact on agriculture, I'm not an agriculturist. There are professors in agriculture. You understand me? But of course, the prices of things will what? Increase. The input will increase, which will determine the what? Output. Are you getting me? Those are just the peripheral, of it. Then you see the same good thing goes into production, industries. What we go in will be increased due to high price. Also, we determine what will goes out, and that will affect, the living condition. You understand me, of the people. So if we want to look at the impact vis-a-vis these areas you just mentioned, we need to bring in, line in, experts that will, talk on them. But the generality of it all is that it will have a negative, impact on the people and the masses.
All right. From your own point of view now, let's discuss some effective policy measures you think government could implement to mitigate the negative effect of the rising fuel prices. and how can the government balance the situation as it were now?
I've mentioned it before. You see, the government should be able to come out with, policies to alleviate. For instance, in the movement, government should be able to come out with buying, transportation means. Government should be able to come out with maybe giving out car loans to his workers and subsidizing, fuel for them at the state. You see, because everybody is blaming the federal.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be. The state governors should be able to come out, in their various states and their various capacities, come out with, maybe buying. Now we cannot go into long term of constructing, rails. We should be able to, like our state governor is doing, putting the rules in place. That is a good effort. Then it should move on into transportation. Try to buy some buses, that will go into the transportation, and doing it not for the purpose of, interest, for instance, interest making, but to do service, to reduce. For instance, people moving from Warri to Asaba, Warri to, or from Asaba to, connecting, the various cities, and all that, the movements. Government should be able to come up with the transportation, to alleviate. Then again, government should also in the area of agriculture come up with, buying the inputs to farmers, so that the increase in price will not affect what goes in. If government does that, government should come up with measures of curtailing and controlling the prices. Of course, if they buy, for instance, fertilizers, they buy grains, they buy cassava, maybe planting, they help in getting tractors to clear the farm, like all what you call agricultural extension services. Agriculturists will do more to that. They clear the farms, get government officials to be going to people's farm, monitoring them, both, poultry, animal, rearing and all of that. You understand?
Yeah.
So government investing not for the sole purpose of profiteering, but for the purpose of reducing, the impacts, on the people. So going into transportation, going into agriculture, going into areas of, maybe, of course, in our state, there are some commendable effort of maybe government, getting the youth to get some skills, and all that. So, these are things that the government should now, go into, things that will make, the suffering, reduce the suffering. You understand me? That the people will not bear this burden, directly, but government will help them to bear this burden. You understand? And through this, I think, situation will improve. Then, again, Nigerians should not just sit down.
Exactly. I was going to now go on to talk about complacency. It's as though
Nigerians
we don't hold the government accountable.
Yes.
We don't ask questions.
We should
just receive as
we should not just sit down. You see, I'm not calling for violence, but we should call the government to account. It's not violence. It's not about violence. You see, political participation, in talking about political participation, demonstration is part of political participation. The people should come out to what? To demonstrate. To air their view. Like what I'm saying here. Some people will pick it against me. This man, is speaking against. No, I'm not actually speaking against. I am saying the obvious. I'm not speaking against any government. I'm not speaking against any individual. I am stating the obvious. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
If they are the people coming up with policy or doing things that affect the lives of the people positively, we will still come out to say it here. Are you getting me?
True that.
You understand me? So the thing there is the government should embark on policies that will affect the lives of the people positively. Spend the resources of the people that will, be in their benefit, not to the luxurious, lifestyle of few. So that is my, take here. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Patrick Oromari-Gake. We're still talking fuel price hike, its impact on the economy, and then we're discussing measures government should take to cushion this impact. And Professor Oromari-Gake has said the impact on the economy cannot be overemphasized. Every one of us is feeling the pain where it pinches. The cost of transportation has doubled, and you won't blame that on anyone, because even transporters can't buy fuel, even though they're buying at 1,200, at 1,400. We're losing manpower, work time. If we earn per hour in Nigeria, I'm sure we'll be so broke, because we'll spend so much time trying to look for the basic. And it's just appalling to know that we're not even asking for so much. We're doing our bit to wake up every day. A typical Nigerian is a natural hard worker. A Nigerian will want to work and fend for themselves, provide for their family, and not asking for so much. So it's just it's sad to see that what the government should give to her citizens, we are lacking so much so in the sense of the word. It's affecting food prices, it's affecting everything. People aren't feeding well because, of course, like Professor Patrick has already said, the cost input will now determine what comes out. What what you drive for maybe 10,000 naira petrol, you would cover the same distance for 30,000 naira.
Yeah.
There should be some kind of way that will recoup our monies back. But even as food price increases, it doesn't even make it easy for the woman selling or for you that is buying.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that everybody is now trying to manage the situation. But then it's also said Nigerians should do something. As a people, it seems we are very laid back.
Complacent.
We are very complacent. We hear one story today, oh, someone comes to debunk tomorrow, and we're just sitting and we are watching. We can't refine crude. Our refineries aren't working. We talk about the same things over and over again, and it gets very, very overbearing. At some time, someone had said, when you push a Nigerian to the wall, they break through and they keep going. But we don't think that that's how it's supposed to be, because it's very scary to see that we wake up every day and things get worse. It's one wonder Monday, it's another one we see Tuesday, and by the end of the week we're so scared as to what's going to happen. Now let's talk a bit about the future outlook, looking forward. Professor Patrick, with what's going on, what do you predict for the future regarding fuel prices and potential impact of the economy in the long term?
Yes, you don't need a prophet to predict. If Nigerians sit down and do nothing, the government will continually to make things difficult. Things will continually go from bad to worst, from worst to worst. Things will not get better until the people will rise up to say enough is what? Enough. That is the truth. Things will not get better. Because if you look at our history, things has always been like this. And the previous administration, things were like this. It's now the turn of this one. If nothing is done, things will still go worst. Believe you me, with what I'm saying, I have said it before. Leadership will never be good in Nigeria until Nigerians rise up to say enough is what? Enough. Nigerians should rise up to hold their leaders accountable. Those that aspires to lead, Nigerians should look at their history, their antecedents. There is this wrong notion that someone, this person cannot be, he has not gotten the experience, he has not held public position, he has not done this and all that, so cannot. What about the individual life, the home front? What about the relation around the community, the relation around the family? Leadership needs to be transformed. There is need to transform leadership. If leadership is the same, things will not change. And the recruitment process is not yet uhuru. Things will not get better. At least for the few time I've been in existence, I am telling you that things are not getting better. And predicting into the future, I will still tell you things will not get what? Better. Until Nigerians, it's not the leaders. The leaders will not change. They will get, of course, that is your human nature. I've said it here. Human nature is selfish, greedy, brutish, and nasty. That is the human nature. Actually, the human nature is meant to be curtailed by the law. And when you talk about the law, you are talking about the people. Yeah. You see, not until I watched something on the social media. It's in South Africa. The youth having a conference, and they came out boldly to speak to their leaders. The president was there, seated, and they were talking directly to him. Can that be done in Nigeria? The various groups that are being formed in Nigeria, what are they formed for? Even the so-called CBO, the so-called civil society CSO, the so-called liberty organization, and all of that, they are all, going for the patronage. All going for the patronage. You are doing well. Nobody wants to speak things objectively. Want to give an objective, opinion or whatsoever of. Anybody that speak objectively is termed as what? In quote, a radical. I'm not a radical. I do tell people I'm not a radical. Yeah. I'm not. Anybody that wants to emphasize on law, they'll say, the person is too hard. It's a very hard person. No! Until Nigerians will realize their predicament, the future generation, things will not get better. Things will not get better. That is the truth. When I was in primary school, when I was in primary school, I enjoyed a little bit of, what attracted us to school was going to eat rice. Free rice.
Yeah. School feeding programs.
You understand? I grew up in a remote area. Eating rice is something we look up to. And going to school is not, it's not the in thing. I remembered we were attracted to school by rice. You know? That way you go to school, you go and eat rice. So, you know, that attracted us.
Yeah.
These days, nothing. Even school fees, these days.
Even dissuades people from going to school.
In fact, assuming I was born this time, I don't think I would have gone to school. I wouldn't have. Because when I went to school, I told someone I did primary 1 and primary 2 using slate.
Yeah.
Now, my own slate, I couldn't afford that slate. They use white to write ABC.
Write on them.
I couldn't afford that. So I went to carve board, you know, a plank. They carve, you know, then we use charcoal
to paint it.
Paint it. That is what we, you know, then we use coconut, cocoyam's leaf.
To write on it.
No, you use it to, then with charcoal. So it will make it, so we use it to scrub the ground so that it will be smooth. Because there's nothing to plane it.
Yeah.
The other slate is very expensive. Are you getting me? That was the situation. I started my primary, you know. I told someone, primary 1 to primary 5, I couldn't read. Going into secondary school, I didn't even know how, you know, I passed. I didn't know how I passed. I didn't know how I passed it.
Exams.
I didn't know how I passed it. All I knew was I went for one, and somehow it came out that. But when I got to secondary school, I started learning, picking the words. In remote area, these days, my child that have not started primary is reading. She's reading. In fact, when I watch them, I say, God, look at intelligence. This child reading at this. And I couldn't do it. But look at the kind of society
we're in.
we're
There's
in
no
now.
support to want to even
If not
make
for
them
the,
go on.
if not for the fact that, you know, maybe God, with his providence, put me in what I am, I don't think that child will be reading.
Right.
That intelligence is there. But are you getting me?
If you don't fan a flame, the fire will burn.
We're not born.
Yeah.
So the government should do things to bring out the best in Nigerians. They should do things. I remember the time, there was one demonstration we had that time. Though I did not have the full knowledge. Ali must what? Go. Ali must go. You know? Even then, things are not that worst. Not that bad. Look at now. People cannot eat. Some people are resorting to taking their lives. I saw a young man yesterday. I was just, sometimes on my own, I would just come and sit, you know, in my, close to the main road. I'll be watching people. I saw a young man, very vibrant, handsome young man with dreads, just walking, you know, like a zombie passing. I shook my head. I said, this guy is on drugs. Are you getting me? Yeah. Why? Because of situation. The potentials in those people, you understand me? They misdirect it. And somehow, for them to cope with all this situation, they result into whatever. So things will not get better, that is the truth, until Nigerians will rise up. You understand me?
Yeah.
to do the needful. If not, leadership will continue to exploit. Leadership will continue to weaponize poverty the way it is now. The way it is now. A leader can just say, take some money, get your people, mobilize them. Of course, you don't have a choice. Is it not so?
Yeah.
It's weaponizing. The government, okay, I will increase your pay, but you have to do this A, and B. Of course, you don't have a choice. You will do it.
True that.
You understand me? It's weaponizing poverty. And that is a weapon, leaders are using. Not to get the people to come out, to perpetually keep them under so that they can manipulate them. They can control them. They will not have a voice. They can even take their property. You understand me? And of course, they can't air they can't say anything. Because even if you say you want to go to the police station, the police will say before they move,
You fuel their car.
you fuel their car. And for them to listen to your this thing, you have to give some, paper and all that. You have to. You understand me? And even the judge, today we don't have justice. I sorry to say, they will go and get one corny, whatever, to twist the truth. And they will say, look, the way it is going, the judge will be the one calling the whosoever that is the bidder, the highest bidder, or whatever, behind. Let your lawyer or whatever put it this way to coin it, so that my judgment will be this. Are you getting me? So that is the situation we are in. The poor will continually, be exploited, dominated, controlled, manipulated. If the Nigerians fail to rise up to say enough is what? Enough. And this praise singing syndrome is killing us. We are dying. We are suffering. And you go and be singing, you are doing well. In fact, you are doing well. You are doing well just because you are receiving the crumbs.
Yeah.
Just because maybe you are, I understand now that, in fact, the monies that government is just sharing money. That is what I'm hearing, So you say they are giving some people 30,000, some people 50,000, some 100,000. And I ask, what are they giving them for? You give them, they go and eat it. They'll come back again. You understand me? That's weaponizing poverty. But if you engage them and equip them to be productive, it's better than sharing money. Sharing money. There is did they call it palliative?
Yeah.
They call it palliative, some call it whatever name, It's an avenue to dole out some stuff and, again, line your pockets, both the officials that are doing it, and even the government that is, they will say they are marked millions and billions. They've shared so amount, and how can you verify such? You can't verify it. These are wastage. So government should be able to do things meaningful to affect and transform the lives of the people. Not sharing money. Not sharing money. Sharing money, you are not doing the people good.
Yeah.
You are just weaponizing your position to control and manipulate, the people.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Patrick Oromarigake. We've discussed together this morning on fuel price hike, its impact on the economy, and then we've also highlighted measures government should take to at least cushion the impact the fuel price hike is having on her citizens. Of course, we've also told Nigerians to be to stop being complacent. The poor will continue to be exploited, controlled, and manipulated until we decide to say enough is enough. Let's hold our leaders accountable. We should ask the right questions. We should be able to stand up for ourselves, and we hope that at the end of the day, we can only hope that things will get better. But for now, we adjust our spending, we adjust our eating, we just try to make things work, and we lend a helping hand to some other person. If you're going to help convey some people on the way, just try to, if you're going to give aid to certain persons, if you can afford to, just try to, let's just look out for one another, hoping that at the end of the day we would come out of this in good enough shape. We will be battered, of course,
Yeah.
but we hope we'll come out in good enough shape. Thank you so much, Professor,
Thank
for
you.
finding the time to talk with us this
Thank you.
morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Viewers, do stay tuned. The Morning What Mondays edition continues on DRTV, where we now go over to environmental issues.